Reddit Ask Me Anything. I am a single guy who quit his job and spent the last year crossing the country, interviewing over 100 of America's most amazing couples about what it's like to be in love. Ask me anything. A few years ago I noticed that the majority conversations surrounding relationships fall into one of two categories. They are typically either super negative conversations focusing on divorce, infidelity, celebrity scandals, etc., or they are hyper emotional and unrealistic stories like those seen in Twilight, Disney movies, The Bachelor. I got really sick of being force-fed these warped and unrealistic expectations of love. I didn't think Chris Brown, Anthony Weiner, or Tiger Woods deserved to be the spokespeople for relationships, but they seem to be the only ones getting any relationship-related airtime. So, rather than complain about it, I figured I'd hunt down the most amazing couples I could find and give them the microphone. My hope was that through talking to these couples, some patterns would emerge, or that I would at least get some pro tips on how to have a successful long-term relationship for myself down the road. I was not prepared for the world that I was about to discover, or amazing stories I was about to be exposed to. I've interviewed gay couples, straight couples, rich couples, poor couples, religious couples, atheist couples, couples who have been together for a short time, and couples who have been together for over 70 years. I've even interviewed couples in arranged marriages and polygamous couples. Want to know what I learned? Ask me anything. Did you find that there were universal characteristics that make a relationship successful across all groups, regardless of religion, sexual orientation, money, etc.? Absolutely. This was actually one of the most surprising things I learned on the journey. Self-love. The happiest couples always consisted of two, sometimes more, emotionally healthy and independently happy individuals. These people practiced self-love. They treated themselves with the same type of care that they treated their partner, or at least they tried to. Emotionally healthy people know how to forgive. They are able to acknowledge their part in any disagreement or conflict and take responsibility for it. They are self-aware enough to be assertive, to pull their weight, and to give love when it's most difficult. Commitment. After that, emotional health came an unquestioning level of commitment. The happiest couples knew that if shit got real, their significant other wasn't going to walk out on them. They knew that even if things got hard, especially if things got hard, they were better off together. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Trust. Happy couples trust each other, and they have earned each other's trust. They don't worry about the other person trying to undermine them or sabotage them, because they've proven over and over again that they are each other's biggest advocate. That trust is built through actions, not words. It's day after day after day of fidelity, service, emotional security, reliability. Establish that foundation, and you're in good shape. Intentionality. This is the icing on the cake. There's a difference between the couple who drives through the rainstorm and the couple who pulls their car to the side of the road to make out in the rain. Yes, that's a true story. There's a difference between the couple who kisses for 10 seconds or longer when they say goodbye to each other rather than just giving each other a peck, or nothing at all. There's a difference between the couples who encourage each other to pursue their personal goals at the expense of their own discomfort or inconvenience, even if it means their partner has to stage kiss another woman. The couples who try on a daily basis to experience some sort of meaningful connection, or create a fun memory are the couples who shattered my perception of what was possible in a loving relationship. I love the idea of intentionality. I think that this is what is missing in many relationships. My parents always told me that love is making sure that, when you get up from the couch, you always ask the other person if they need anything while you're up. They also taught me that love is a conscious decision you make every damn day, not some flighty feeling that just happens to you. Edit. My parents have been together for over 30 years. Tell your parents that someone on the internet loves their advice. Did the amount of financial security the couples had affect how strong their relationship appeared to be? Most of the strongest couples had undergone times of extreme hardship, many of which included poverty. For example, Reed and Aline went bankrupt and ended up selling spoons door to door to avoid losing absolutely everything. What separated couples like Reed and Aline from others is that when hardship hit them, they had each other's backs, and they went to work and did what needed to be done. Marriage, or any sort of long-term commitment, is about teamwork, fighting for each other, and using each other to lean on in the hard times. Finances has very little to do with quality of love. Actions have everything to do with quality of love. Did you notice any patterns for how successful couples handle disagreements? Any advice? Yes, resolving disagreements was one of the topics that came up the most. Here's what I learned. Don't fight to win. A huge number of couples talked about how they didn't fight against each other. I mean, if you're in love, you should be playing for the same team. Your goal should be to resolve the issue, not to emerge victorious over the love of your life. And let's be honest, you just feel guilty when you win anyway. Seek to understand. If you're having a hard time playing on the same team, stop fighting and instead try to understand why your partner is upset. Typically what's being talked about isn't the real issue. People are inherently bad at being vulnerable, especially in threatening situations. Be willing to ask sincere questions. Let the answers sink in. If she is complaining that you're spending too much time at work, maybe the real issue is that she misses you and wants to feel connected with you, rather than arguing about how you're providing for the family, and she needs to respect how hard you work. Try to listen to what she's really saying, then hold her. Come home early one day and surprise her with a date or some special one-on-one time. Reassure her that she and your relationship are a priority for you. If you don't want that same issue to arise again, keep investing in the solution. Just be nice to each other seriously. Don't be a jerk. Don't call names. Don't take jabs. Don't try to hurt the other person. Argue naked if it helps. But just be kind and civil and respectful. It will prevent so many bad things from happening. Next time my wife and I get into an argument, I'm getting naked. I actually feel like this could be very beneficial 2 out of 3 times, or so. What was the best advice that a couple gave you? One woman in Georgia gave some pretty amazing advice. She and her husband have been married for over 60 years, and after being asked what her best relationship advice would be, she paused and said, "Don't be afraid to be the one who loves the most. If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me." W.H. Jordan wrote this on my boyfriend's Valentine's gift last year. Kind of cheesy, but what the heck, it was Valentine's. Do those with similar personalities or dissimilar personalities seem to last the longest? Or did that really not have any bearing on whether the relationship worked? That was actually one of the things I was most curious about when I started my journey, and also one of the things that surprised me most. It was honestly almost a 50-50 split. Some people swore that opposites attract, and really needed to have similar interests and personalities. Others were convinced that birds of a feather flock together, and that you need to complement and balance each other out. I think what was most important was not so much that people had the surface stuff in common, but that they had the same values and similar goals, i.e., someone who is dedicated to personal growth was rarely found with someone who was happy to be complacent. Someone who didn't want kids was never found with someone who did. Values superseded interests. Write a book, dude. Okay. That one was too short. Another, please. Do you think that appearance, i.e. how you look, has significant factor in getting people together? Like that woman man looks nice, I think I'll go talk to her. In most animal kingdom, looks are what attracts potential mates. Like bigger feathers, larger manes, brighter colors, ect. I think that's absolutely the case. Yes, though there are those who don't experience overwhelming physical attraction from the get-go. Their attraction builds as their friendship builds. How many times during this period did you think, "Stupid happy people, I wish you all would die in a fire. Why does no one love me?" More often than you'd think. So after interviewing all of those people, do you believe in true love? Yes, I very much do. Favorite couple you met? I have different favorites for different reasons. The most surprisingly amazing couple was probably Ty and Terry from Omaha. We weren't even supposed to interview them, but someone we met the night before introduced us. We showed up at their house at 9 o'clock at night expecting to do a quick 1-hour interview and ended up laughing, crying, and telling stories until like 2 a.m. It was an unbelievable experience. My other favorite couple was probably Josh and Jenny from Kansas City. They are the couple whose life I'd like to steal if I could. They live more intentionally than anyone I've ever seen. They are the kind of couple who does the dishes together every night and then slow dances in the kitchen. They randomly surprise each other with breakfast in bed. They make out in the rain for no reason other than to create a memory. They are awesome. Their story will be published in a few weeks, and it will rock your socks. Also, Kieran and my made me realize how in a love a couple can be. One of my favorite quotes of the entire trip was when they said that being married was like a 24/7 slumber party. Every young couple should have a chance to sit down and talk with them for an hour before they tie the knot. They would be so much better off for it. Added things. So the actual key to happiness is to find someone whose name starts with the same letter. Gotcha. On the topic of arranged marriages, what did you notice, aside from the obvious that they didn't choose to be a couple, was different about their relationships? Was there even something different? The biggest difference was, I think, their attitude. They both entered the relationship as mature, well-educated individuals. They met, and a week later were married. Rather than be terrified, like most of us from the Western world would be, they looked at it as an adventure. At one point she said, "Most people get to know each other before they get married. We got married and then got to spend years getting to know each other. It was an adventure." They also both entered the relationship with an inherent attitude of selflessness. I know we've all probably heard it over and over and over, but it was the idea that if she's happy, I'm happy, or vice versa. When I asked them why they thought so many relationships fail, they said, "Your expectation is that you're expecting stuff, not giving stuff." They entered their relationship expecting to give. I think that's pretty awesome. What job did you quit? I was managing the internet marketing at the corporate offices of an international restaurant chain. Oak. Did you go back to the job or did you not want to go back? I never want to go back. Interviewing couples who are in love is way better than sitting in a cube. Out of all the couples you've interviewed, what specific event story were you told about that made you think, "Oh, hot damn, this is what love is"? This quote from this interview was the exact moment that I experienced that feeling. At the end of Ty's life, I want him to be able to say, "Terry was the greatest earthly blessing in my life, the best thing that ever happened to me, and that I'm a better man because of how she loved me." And that's the goal that I live with every day. That's how I want to love this man. This gave my chills. The hair on my neck stood up. This is exactly how I want my love to be. This is what I want my children to say about me. And this is what I hope to one day have reciprocated with a woman. Thank you. How were you able to finance your year-long journey? What advice would you give someone who is attempting to break out of the daily grind and explore the world? I used my life savings and also raised money through Kickstarter. If you want to break out of the daily grind, get curious about something. Get passionate about something. I worked on the love mentory concept for years before getting the courage to dive in. I learned how to build my own website. I learned a little bit about design. I learned about interviewing. And if you listen to the podcasts, you'll see that I'm still learning about audio stuff. I'm definitely no pro. And most importantly, you need to be willing to take the risk. The hardest part is often the first step, plunging into the unknown, taking the leap of faith. Your body and your mind will scream in resistance. They crave security and predictability. The moment I quit my job, though, shit got real. When you start to move, if it's right, the world will get out of your way and create a path for you. The right doors will open. Every day for me is still a risk. I have very little money. I'm living in my parents' basements for the time being. But I have never experienced something more rewarding in my life. How did you select the couples to interview? Mostly through friends and family. Also, we came across a lot of couples by talking to people about the project. The typical response was, "Whoa, that's really cool. I know the perfect couple for this." Typically, if a couple was willing to sit down and talk about their most intimate relationship with the knowledge that it was going to be put on the internet for the world to see, I was pretty confident that they had a great relationship. How did kids affect marriages? Did they seem to be a foundation in later relationships? I've often heard people say that when you have kids, your relationship takes a back seat. The couples I spoke with almost overwhelmingly said this was false. Do you have to sacrifice to have kids? Yes. Does your relationship need to take a back seat? Absolutely not. If anything, most of the time, they bring a new dynamic and a new layer of love into the relationship. Why do you think we focus on romantic couples as the definition and goal of love rather than platonic couples? Why is it that two lovers being together for 50 years is more interesting than two friends? We model our lives and behavior off of the examples we're given. For decades, Hollywood has glorified the romantic aspects of relationships. It's definitely changed what people expect from a long-term relationship now, which is sad. Ironically, after talking to literally scores of couples about their relationships, the partnerships with the most passion after years and years of togetherness are those who have a strong and undying friendship. It's not about the sex so much as it is about the way their level of undying commitment, their endless support of each other, the way they laugh at each other's jokes, and forgive each other's wrongdoings. The thing that makes an amazing best friend is what also makes an amazing partner. Add in the romance and you take it to the next level. We tend to do it backwards in our society. We start with the sex, then panic, and try to add in the friendship, which rarely works. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Bro, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.